to prevent reoccurrence.
This is not the first time a public office holder is having issues with identity. Others resigned.
Yesterday, the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar called on his Labour Party counterpart Peter Obi and that of the NNPP Rabiu Kwankwaso to back his legal case against President Bola Tinubu and his certificate. Mr. Atiku made the call on Thursday at the World Press Conference in Abuja. He said his disagreement with President Tinubu started when he denied him the chance to be his running mate in 2007 due to a Muslim ticket. The PDP presidential candidate also said he will fight to finish at the Supreme Court, where he is appealing the Presidential Tribunal ruling.
So I'm not scared of any business being taken away from me. It has already been taken away from me since the Buhari's time. They took it and distributed it among themselves. Yes, immediately after the elections, I was told there was a delegation of governors who claimed they were sent by the president, but I did not even allow them to get into my house. I didn't.
Mr. Atiku also spoke about the efforts of late human rights lawyer Gani Fawemi and investigative journalist David Hundenyi in ensuring the conclusion of a legal case.
I wish to pay tribute to the late human rights activist, Chief Gani Fawemi. Gani's vindication today gives credence to the saying that no matter how fast a lie runs, the truth will someday overtake it. It is for these reasons that commendation must be given to David Hundenyi, an independent journalist whose extraordinary work has become a source of inspiration. I will only drop the fight when the court rules. If the court rules that I am right, fine. If the court rules that he is right, that's the end of the fight.
Speaking on President Tinubu's certificate received from the Chicago State University, Atiku's lawyer Kalu said the institution affirmed that President Tinubu forged the certificate he presented to INEC, among other concerns.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu forged the certificate he presented to INEC. The Chicago State University admission application form that Bola Ahmed Tinubu attended Government College, Lagos, and graduated in 1970 when the school was established in 1974. The same document says that Bola A. Tinubu is Ahmed, but the NYSC certificate submitted to INEC has Adekunle.
Moving on, the Rivers State Civil Society Organization, RIVSCO, has joined in demanding justice for a man, Amechi Ifongu, who now uses a wheelchair after a police stray bullet hit him 3 years ago. Recall that there was a protest after a tricycle driver, Chukuma Onorum, popularly known as Schoolboy, was killed by a policeman at Ibichi School Field in Rukwaku over alleged extortion. Mr. Ifongu was among victims that sustained gunshot injuries at the protest scene as the police tried to disperse the crowd. Speaking on this, Chairman of RIVSCO, NFR George Will, urged the police to revisit the case and ensure that justice is done.
Youths took to protest 3 years ago after a trigger-happy police officer killed a tricycle driver at Rokboko. It was during this protest that the police was trying to forcefully stop that stray bullet hit Mr. Amechi Ifongu and put him on wheelchair permanently. It is unfortunate till date. The perpetrators of this inhuman act is yet to be prosecuted. Neither has the police taken steps to look for solution for Mr. Amechi's disability that is of no fault of his. Please so therefore call on the police to revisit Mr. Amechi's case in order to dispense justice for all. We are monitoring.
Earlier, Mr. Ifongu, a former truck driver, told our correspondent that he still wants justice.
The thing is too difficult for me. There was time between nothing again. Even the time that I started having better, so they say I should buy water bed. I was looking for help everywhere. This is very, very difficult for us. My wife is teaching for private school, and the private school is just a small school. I have 2 children. They just entered basic 4. I'm using waterproof now for my manhood. I'm not using caretaker because there is no money. Only drop to carry me go UPH to change that caretaker is 12,000.
The police are yet to speak on this. As you may know, that 2020 incident happened on the 10th of December, a day when the world was marking International Human Rights Day. Away from that, residents of Rivers State have been advised to obtain proper approval before starting construction projects. The chairman of Institute of Town Planners of Nigeria, Rivers State Chapter, Emmanuel Ikechukwu, said this on Nigerian Info FM's Morning Crossfire. Mr. Ikechukwu also warned that if residents continue to flout laid-down town planning rules, it will expose the state to more severe flooding.
The public must understand that no local government has the right to grant approval. They only give you recommendation for approval. When they give you that recommendation for approval, you are expected to either go to the Ministry of Fiscal Planning and Urban Development or the Greater Port Harcourt City Development Authority, who in turn comes to those sites and do the needful. So when you pick your document from Obiakpo and go and start building, you don't have building approval.
The state's chairman of the Town Planning Institute blamed the recent congestion of Port Harcourt City on lack of proper planning.
Congestion is a problem of poor planning. The government from the onset ought to have bring the planners in, and we look at the areas where the ring road is passing through on the Greater Port Harcourt master plan. The planners, they are the city manager. They understand how the city grows, and when they take notice of the direction the city is going, what you do, you develop a plan for that particular area where the spread is going, and you see that development will be controlled. When you come to involvement of planners, particularly in Greater Port Harcourt, in fact, in almost all government decisions, we are not involved.
Elsewhere, some natives of Bile in Degema local government area of Rivers State are concerned that the water level in the community is getting higher than expected. An environmentalist, Blessing Digbani, spoke with correspondent Suebiru Wari. Digbani called on the state government to urgently intervene and address the problem before it gets out of hand.
Currently, the flood situation in Bile is getting worse due to the increased rainfall coupled with the annual sea level rise that is peculiar to our environment. This phenomenon is expected to increase even in the couple of weeks to come. Our people are suffering. A lot of them are being displaced, properties are damaged, they are at high risk of waterborne diseases. Shoreline protection and development of sustainable drainage system is not too much for the government to provide for the Bile people.
Another native, Timothy Akudambe, said if not urgently checked, the flood might destroy the livelihoods of the people.
On the water level as it comes into the community at this period of time. As at today, the water that came into the community was about 20 inches high, which is about 0.508 meters from the ground level. And the water that came in today is not going to be compared to the level of water we are expecting in subsequent days ahead. Therefore, a request is made for a support or help that we can get to curb this menace.
As you may know, Degema local government area is among the 19 local government areas that may be affected by flooding. Still to come, federal government promises to address issues affecting teaching practice. Stay tuned. assistant to the Rivers State representative on the NDDC Management Board, has accused some politicians in Rumigbo community of sponsoring youths of the community to tarnish Tony Okocha's reputation. In an interview with our correspondent, he said Mr. Okocha has been instrumental to the peace and development of Rumigbo community. He said the claims that Mr. Okocha is meddling in the chieftaincy affairs of Eze Ekinigbo are baseless, especially since the matter is already in court.
Ordinarily, we never intended to respond to all those cheap political gimmicks, but it is important that we set the record straight. The issues they raised concerning chieftaincy crisis in Rumigbo, Tony is neither a party to that matter in the court. We do know that some political misfits within Rumigbo and outside Rumigbo are conspiring to undermine or discredit Tony Okocha and his good deeds. What they are doing cannot change anything.
Also speaking, the chairman of the Ekinigbo Council of Chiefs, Michael Otu, said Tony Okocha remains the political leader in Rumigbo community. Mr. Otu accused some Rumigbo politicians of obstructing progress for their own agenda.
What has Tony Okocha got to do with the standard of Ikore tradition? We are old enough to know our tradition. Somebody from Kesolo family is the first class. You can also have the second class from Kesolo family. Tony Okocha has not been in the middle of this whole saga. His opponents and enemies are just trying to malign him and drag him into the center of this crisis, thinking that can cause the system denying him appointment. They did it when he was to be chief of staff of Rivers State Government House. They did not succeed. Now they will not also succeed. He remains the political leader of Rumigbo.
Recall that some youths in Rumigbo community led by Ezekiel Bobby protested alleged harassment due to their refusal to support a particular politician's bid to create a new traditional stool and install a traditional ruler. The Supreme Court has fixed December 15 to deliver its judgment on the appeal that is seeking to compel the federal government to release leader of IPOB Nnamdi Kanu from detention. A 5-member panel led by Justice Kudira Kekere Ekun fixed the date after the lawyer for both the federal government and the detained IPOB leader adopted their final briefs of argument. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says that the state government will continue to prioritize the welfare of teachers in the state. Governor Fubara, who was represented by the State Commissioner for Education, Professor Chinedu Umom, said this at the World Teachers' Day celebration at the Isaac Borough Park in Port Harcourt yesterday.
The New Rivers Vision has high premium tied to education, and that is why today the Rivers State government is embarking on renovation, remodeling of several schools, both primary and secondary schools in Rivers State. We have spent billions of money doing all this. Is to make the environment where you teach conducive for you as well as conducive for the children whom we are teaching, and the government is committed to doing more of this to put smiles on the faces of our people. Our salaries are being paid regularly and promptly.
Professor Mom warned head teachers and principals of public schools against charging money for registration of basic education certificate education. West African Examination Council, WAEC, and National Examinations Council, NECO.
These examinations are being paid by Rivers State government free of charge for all our children enrolled in public schools in Rivers State. I'm re-emphasizing this because of the calls I receive from parents, some guidance that some principals have printed forms and says enrollment forms for NECO and WAEC and charging as much as 12, 15, 20,000 as the case may be. I have sent some persons who may form to be parents to register their students or their wards. Once you become a corporate, that is no abeg, the hammer of the law will hit on you. Please don't sabotage the efforts of the Rivers State government.
The teachers who gathered at Isaac Borough Park in Port Harcourt to celebrate the day told correspondent Martha Okering Kim that the Rivers State is among 2 states yet to implement the law signed by former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2022. They also called for more security in public schools.
We also are aware there is only Rivers State and the Bayelsa State remaining for the implementation of this.
We are expecting infrastructures Like some of the schools, they still need renovation, chairs and other things.
We need it is going to provide security to our schools and also provide written and writing materials promptly to our schools. We also want them to ensure they give us the incentives that the head teacher can use to manage the school.
Teachers in Rivers State should be able to serve for the period of 40 years. In fact, that should be the only reward for teachers.
In Abuja, the federal government has pledged to address the challenges inhibiting effective teaching and learning in Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima made the pledge on Thursday during the 2023 World Teachers' Day celebration at the Eagle Square. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Joe Biden is coming under fire from both sides of the political spectrum after his administration announced new border wall construction in Texas. Mr. Biden has claimed he can't stop construction because funding for it was appropriated in 2019. On the news this morning, you heard that the Rivers APC has rejected the Election Petition Tribunal rulings. The World Press Conference on President Tinubu's certificate saga has been faulted by the APC. Civil society has joined a demand justice for a stray bullet victim in Rivers State. The federal government has pledged to address challenges inhibiting effective teaching and learning in Nigeria. On the foreign scene, you heard that U.S. President Joe Biden is now facing bipartisan attacks over a new border wall. The news was edited by Chioma Ezenwafo. Mostly cloudy weather expected in Port Harcourt this morning. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I am Ifeemi Andrew. Good morning.